Welcome to episode 3 of Apparently, a podcast where we're going to be discussing all things politics, pop culture, and everything in between. We're now, on to episode 3. I'm here with my co-host Ladan. She pronounces it Ladan, but I'm going to just keep calling her Ladan because there are white people listening, and this is a podcast for everyone. Am I right?
I'm gonna call you Alia now.
No, 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 no. That's fine. Actually, to be fair, when I was in secondary school, I did used to call myself Alia sometimes just because of the singer. But then I realized that my name actually does sound better in a Somali accent. Anyways, so in today's episode, we've got actually quite a few things prepared for today's episode. Firstly, thanks for anyone who's still listening, anyone who listened to episode 1 and 2 and is still here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We would not be doing this without you. And we're not like Navarra. We don't have a begging bucket. We're not begging for money.
Soon we might. Soon we might.
No, 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 no. At
Listen,
this
we're in
present
a,
moment, we are content with our full-time jobs. We don't need you guys to financially support us. That is what big corporations are there for, not our loyal friends and family, i.e., the people listening to the podcast. But
hey, no, we get a good amount of followers. But listen, please follow. If stop what you're doing right now and follow us.
yeah, follow us. And
Had
if
enough.
there is a mechanism on Spotify or Apple, we're going to soon put it on YouTube. But if there is something where you can, I don't know, get notifications, we'll double check if that's possible. But if you can do that, definitely do so because we are thinking and we are hoping to record this weekly and stay on schedule. And yeah, but that's all the begging we've got time for today. So Ladan, apparently the Labour Party are still being racist towards Black people. What's up with
That's not
that?
that's not going to change anytime soon. What's the latest in the Labour Party hating Black people? It's the Forde report again. So if you haven't heard of the Forde report, this was a report actually commissioned by the Labour Party by a Black barrister by the name of Martin Forde, who was very forthright in the report, talking about the hierarchy of racism in the Labour Party, all of the challenges that Black members and MPs face, the lack of action on bullying, the lack of action on the harassment of MPs like Diane Abbott, who we spoke about in the first episode, who, as you know, receives the most abuse of any MP, and that's out of 600 plus people, she receives the most. So yeah, didn't paint a pretty picture. And you might also know that that report was basically suppressed by the Labour Party when it was released. And Martin Forde, who I absolutely love, by the way, he doesn't give a shit. He's standing his ground
I was
and has
going to
made
ask actually, just before you
yeah.
get into it, why did the Labour Party commission this guy to do it? Did they know that he was going to come out with findings that would not end up suiting their narrative? Because they were looking for something about the hierarchy of racism to say that, I'm assuming, were they trying to get a report that basically said the Labour Party are institutionally anti-Semitic? And then it turns out that Martin Forde's report says that it's actually institutionally anti-Black and brown. Am I right?
I mean,
I don't know if I
I
don't think
think
I paid too
the
much attention to it at
cynical,
the time.
yeah, the cynic in me would say that they were probably hoping that they would reveal that the Labour Party do pretty well on anti-Black racism, and probably was expecting a bit of a pat on the back, to be honest. But no, it actually came out of a bit of blackmail, to be honest. Or no, not blackmail, actually. It came out of basically a report that was commissioned by the NEC in the Labour Party, so the National Executive Committee, was leaked into the public, which revealed a lot of what the Martin Forde report revealed itself, which was that there's rampant anti-blackness, that there was a hierarchy of racism, etc., etc. And that kind of forced the hand of the leadership of the Labour Party to actually commission a full report to really find out where the problems lie. But yeah, they didn't they
mean,
didn't commission it in
all I can
goodwill.
hear right now is just reason number 500 as to why we as Black people should not be voting for the Labour Party. I mean, I saw a video clip. I think it was Mick Lynch, the head of the, I don't know, the transport union, one of those unions. He's a really great guy, but he was basically encouraging
Love
the
him.
left to vote for the Labour Party. And I just think that we are committing suicide as working class people, as Black people, as Black working class people, voting for a party that just does not like us. Tel
Yeah,
Aviv Keith, Tel Aviv
I
Keith
love it.
Starmer, he seems to want to represent Israel more than he wants to represent Holborn and St. Pancras. And for that reason, I'm voting for Feinstein, Andrew Feinstein. He's the
A
guy
wonderful
who
guy.
basically, yeah, wonderful guy. He's the guy who was an MP. Nelson Mandela was his boss. I mean, I've I've followed his campaign very closely. He does care a lot about Holborn and St. Pancras, but it is good to know that there is someone out there, an independent alternative. But yeah, no, as you were saying with the Martin Forde report, what's the development on that? Because that's been in the news recently. It's popped back in.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, Martin Forde has been standing on business. The Labour Party at the time when it was released in July 2022, and where he basically revealed that it was an unwelcoming place for people of colour, not just Black people. There were these factional disputes between the party's right and the left, which we've seen in the past few weeks with Faiza Shaheen being purged from the party, with Diane Abbott being almost bullied out of the party, and she's survived another day. But
As much as don't, I get why people are sad about Faiza Shaheen. Obviously, I am always angry about what happens to Diane Abbott, but I'm not gonna lie, the Labour Party they ate one thing when
they
they
did take that one thing.
when they canvassed on her doorstep after they purged her out of the party. And then she posted she took a picture of one of the canvassers outside her house and was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?"
I do feel bad for her, but the little Labour Party girl that they sent to her door knew what she was doing because she was almost bellied up. She had a hat covering her face.
And they have the data. They know that they went to Faiza Shaheen's house, but I do see Faiza Shaheen as someone who now needs to eat some humble pie and accept that. For those of you who don't know, Faiza Shaheen, she was the parliamentary Labour candidate for, I think it's Chingford and South Woodford, and she basically threw Corbyn and the Corbynites under the bus a couple of years ago.
I think she needs to stand up, because even as they bullied her out of the party, 6 weeks postpartum, and fired her while her baby was screaming, basically on a call in the evening.
Sorry, I don't know why, but all I can picture right now is her getting the phone call and the baby screaming, and Keir Starmer's on the other side saying, "Can you keep the noise down? Can you
I
shut
mean,
the baby up?"
they might as well have. They might as well have. And even despite all of that, she's basically said that they were right in their approach of dealing with anti-Semitism in the party, which is not true. And a lot of Jewish groups on the left have said the same. But I still think that she deserves dignity. But I wish I
No,
wish she'd
I'm
have stood.
thinking of what's her face, Kris Jenner. It's what she deserves. It's what she deserves. I know that I see her treatment as a representation of how women of color have been treated by the Labour Party, but
Yeah,
her personally, I do not care for. I saw that interview where she went on Newsnight with Victoria Derbyshire, and she had the most perfect Princess Diana face of just,
loved it.
yeah, I mean, she knows how to work the media really well. She's a young girl, she's a smart woman, she knows what she's doing, but I can't feel sorry for her that much. My sympathy is capped at maybe 60%.
Yeah. She's a good representation of how loyalty to a machine doesn't serve you,
We've all
basically.
been there. Any Black woman who's listening to this knows professionally in the workplace, you can work like a dog, and put your whole pussy into your job, and they'll still end up throwing you under the bus. That whole theory of from is it from pet to threat? It's
Yeah.
when they love you when you're basically just docile and you play the part, you fulfill their stereotype. And then the minute you start outshining them, the minute you start talking too much, that's when you become a threat, especially when they find out that you're actually competent at your job. And that was, I think, the biggest threat as well was whoever they've replaced Faiza Shaheen with is not going to be a good MP. They knew that Faiza Shaheen was loved by the local constituents, but yeah, no. So
That that's
just
what the
yeah,
Labour Party are doing now. They're trying to get rid of all of the really beloved local MPs who really do care about the communities that they serve, and they're, you know, helicoptering in party warriors like what's his name, the red-faced,
Luke, the tomato face, Luke
yeah,
Akehurst.
Luke Akehurst, someone who has never had a real job. He's always been a party
He's
what's the
always
best
just
way?
meddled in the Labour
Hitman.
Party. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the Labour Party's hitman. He's there to kill off any pro-Palestine sentiment. That he is a single issue man, and he's now going to be representing the Northeast. The man is not from the Northeast. He's from
It was
London,
his
I
first
believe.
visit.
Yeah,
Or
so
Oxford. I think he's from Oxford, but
I
he
think it's
was
from Oxford, yeah. And his wife, oh my goodness, please Google Luke Akehurst's wife. She looks exactly how you expected her to look, but she also looks like his sister. Like she
yeah,
could be his
they just
sister.
look like a pair of bullies.
Yeah,
Um,
like a pair of XL bullies. No, they look inbred.
yeah.
They're not just that, they look inbred in red. They're very red faced.
That's a good. That was a good
But
pun.
it's my only punchline for today. But yeah,
Anyway,
just
we keep on getting
so yeah.
distracted. The Ford
Yeah.
report. Yeah. So he's despite that report being suppressed, 2 years later, he's still talking about. He gave an interview to Al Jazeera, talking about the how the report has been suppressed and not been no attention has been paid to it, and the Labour Party hasn't done really anything to highlight the concerns that were raised by the ethnic minority politicians who spoke to him and complained about the racism that they've experienced. Um, you can read all about it in the Independent, which I can't seem to share.
I think we can add a link maybe to the Spotify if we can.
Yeah,
But that's one way to show people that you care about anti-Black racism is by threatening the man that you hired to investigate racism in the party. Very, he must feel vindicated at the moment, Martin Forde.
yeah, he's actually quite irritated. That's what he said. Because the Labour Party, after he gave that interview to Al Jazeera, talking about the lack of action, wrote him a legal letter. I mean, the audacity of sending one of our most celebrated Black cases, very very well known barristers, with a threatening legal letter as if he's done something wrong, as if he's done something illegal by speaking out. And it does scare me, the approach that the Labour
Well,
Party.
would they do this if this was someone who did a report on anti-Semitism in the Labour Party?
Absolutely not. I mean, hierarchy of racism.
Hierarchy
As
of racism, I'm sorry, but they would never threaten a Jewish barrister in this way. They just wouldn't. It's not
yeah,
good for it's not good for your health
it's,
to do things like that. But yeah, so they would never ever do
yeah,
that.
it's completely insincere. And I mean, the thing that scares me is if this is how the Labour Party, who are not yet in power, are dealing with slight criticism from a member of the public. He's not even, I think, a member of the party, threatening him with legal action. What are they going to do with a supermajority? I'm scared.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute for a second, but yeah, I'm frightened. They're going to be rounding us up, people of color. I'm just taking a picture of myself. They're going to be rounding us up and deporting
I love
any
the
ethnic
selfie mid podcast
selfie
selfie.
mid podcast. But yeah, they're going to be rounding all ethnics, Muslims, Black people, brown people out of the country unless we, I don't know,
And trade unionists. I mean,
and trade unionists. But if you look at, like I said, Mick Lynch, he's now towing the party line apparently. So it depends what kind of trade unionists you are. Actually, it seems like the only people who are predominantly white that they will definitely go after are the Just Stop Oil protesters who threw some, I don't know,
Bad luck.
orange dust, just orange dust on Stonehenge.
Cornflower.
Cornflour,
Cornflower.
orange
Yeah.
cornflour. It completely washes off after rain or wind. And you've got, Tel Aviv Keith saying, "Get up, go home. I'm opposed to what you're doing." I'm gonna try and loop that sound in after the podcast when I'm editing it. But get up, go home. I'm opposed to what you're doing. Yeah. So yeah, we're kind of done for. But yeah, so that's it on Martin Forde, I guess. That's just,
Yeah.
and not surprising, it's just depressing. I fucking hate the Labour Party more than I hate the Conservatives. At least with the Conservatives, I know what I'm getting. I know exactly what flavor of racism I'm getting. It's predictable, it's standardized. I know exactly what it's going to taste like, and I love it. I'm okay with that.
I
However,
mean, and also like
huh,
I feel like the Conservative Party, not to give them any credit, but they know how to use identity politics well.
they know
The
how to
Labour
use it. No,
Party
no, no, no.
don't.
The funny thing is, if you are an ultra conservative black or brown person in the Conservative Party, the more ultra conservative you are, the more rewarded you are. But in the Labour Party, the more Labour and left wing you are as a person of colour, the more you're likely to be punished. So there's absolutely no incentive to be left
Left
wing
wing.
in the Labour Party as a person of colour. You're actually punished for that. So say whatever you want about the Conservatives. At least I know that if I switch up my talking points a little bit and do a slight rebrand, I could end up doing very well in the Conservative Party. And
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine if we sold out?
if I sold out, I think I would be, oh my goodness. I mean,
What
alhamdulillah for Islam. Let's just say that. Let's just say that. But
what would it take for you to sell out?
well, I'm not going to name any names, but there are certain people of Somali ethnic origin who only got like 3 grand to be
Oh,
a
and no, no, no.
housekeeper or a
She
nanny.
also, yeah, exactly. She also got to be a housekeeper at number
Yeah,
10 Street.
yeah. So for, to be, to be Little Miss Nanny for the former Prime Minister. So yeah, if I'm selling out, I'm selling out for a lot more than 3 grand. Let's just say
Like
that.
maybe working in the kitchen.
Yeah, maybe a promotion to work in the kitchen. Your sound is a bit off, by the way. I don't know. You have to get closer to your mic.
How about now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so selling out is the way forward. I'd rather sell out than even entertain the idea of voting for or campaigning for the Labour Party. I remember campaigning for the Labour Party back in 2019. That was the last time any of us had even a slight modicum of joy in this country. That was robbed from us in December 2019. I'll never ever forget that election. I think that was the beginning of the end for a lot of us in the UK.
Yeah, I think um my heart genuinely broke that night. Just seeing the results coming in, I realized that there was actually nothing to look forward to in this country.
Yeah, I think was it who's that lady? Rachel, what's her face from Countdown? What her name?
Oh yeah, oh, thank you, Britain.
Thank you, Britain. What's her surname? I forgot her name. Rachel.
We just call her the countdown lady
Countdown. Look at the Countdown's IO. That's what we call her.
with the wonky eye.
Yeah, like the wonky eye. But yeah, so alrighty then. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to talk about today is I won't spend too much time on it, but is Candace Owens. Now, for those of you maybe from the United Kingdom, I think a lot of if we do have many American listeners, they'll definitely know who she is. But Candace Owens is the political commentator. She's an African American woman. She's very, very Christian. She only recently, I think, though, reconverted or went to Catholicism instead to follow her husband. I think his name is George Farmer. He's like Catholic and he's also an entrepreneur. I think he was like the CEO of a social media organization called Parler. But Candace Owens is frequently on the news. She was on the news through her very close friendship with Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West. She went to one of his fashion shows and wore the White Lives Matter t-shirt with him, which I thought was fucking hilarious. What a troll. But
Iconic.
yeah, yeah, she's known for a lot of things. But she did have a stable job with the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire is a digital media platform in America. The one of the founders is Ben Shapiro. He's a staunch Zionist and just a right-wing neocon, just dweeb. He's just a nerd. He's like a complete and utter lowlife. But yeah, that was her boss. And she had this show. It was a daily show. I think the Candace Owens podcast. I did watch it occasionally, I'm not gonna lie, because I did find her quite entertaining. But yeah, I think what I wanted to talk about with you, Ladan, is Candace Owens, friend or foe. So before I get into this, Candace Owens was a few months ago fired. I think it was 4 months ago, from the Daily Wire, for what her bosses confirmed was, actually her former colleagues confirmed that it was because of what they deemed to be anti-Semitism. She started tweeting Christ is king. Apparently, Christ is king is anti-Semitic, but it's kind of what I wanted to say about the whole Christ is king thing is I see Christ is king as the same as us saying Allahu Akbar. It all depends on when you're saying it, and the small minority of times it's said in an unfortunate, horrific event, but at the end of the day, it's a declaration of
Yeah,
her faith. It's not a
yeah.
declaration of my faith, but so yeah, so she was tweeting that a lot, and people considered that anti-Semitic dog whistle because of the the whole Passion of the Christ stuff about Jesus Christ and how some Christians believe he was killed. We won't get into that definitely because that
I
is not
mean,
our portion as Muslims. That's not a thing.
let's
But yeah,
clear
so
that.
Ladan, do you watch Candace Owens ever? What's your interaction with Candace Owens?
I listened just for research purposes. I listened to 2 episodes of her podcast yesterday, and she's nuts. Um, she's nuts. Like the stuff that she says about World War II, about the genocide of the white German. Well, she doesn't say the white Germans actually. That's like the subtext, but it's very dog whistly. It's I think she's
She's obsessed with something that she calls the Bolsheviks, genocide of Christians.
which
She
is a
wants to
really
get.
weird reading of history.
No, because I think I know where it comes from. So Candace Owens believes that the Bolsheviks committed genocide against Christians, and I think she wants to get a piece of the genocide pie. I feel like she thinks she's got FOMO, she's got fear of missing out
Yeah,
when it comes to genocide. She sees that Muslims talk about genocide, that have happened to them and it is currently happening to them. She obviously hears a lot about Jewish people talking about their genocide that happened to them, and I think that she wants a slice of the pie. She sees it as almost something to envy. In my opinion, that's how I perceive
really,
it.
yeah,
It's
yeah. I
grim.
see
It's
that.
disgusting.
And but I hate to say it. Well, no, I don't hate to say it. But if there was a genocide of the Germans in World War II, which is obviously not true,
There was a
or
genocide of Christians, technically Armenians. Like if she wants to get into
exactly,
that, but I don't think she cares that much about that because of their proximity to brownness. She does
yeah.
talk about them being genocide. Actually, to be honest, I take that back. She does talk about what Azerbaijan recently did to Armenia, but it
But
doesn't
that's
come
very
from a
good.
place of caring about Armenians. It comes from a place of she sees it as her identity being attacked, and she
Mm,
sees it as very much because Israel funded the ethnic cleansing campaign in Armenia recently. They funded Azerbaijan. She sees that as Jewish people funding Christian genocide. So remember, that's how she
mm,
views it, whereas the rest of us see it as poor, innocent people being driven from their land.
yeah, by a colonial power. Uh, that's expansionist in its design. But yeah, let's say let's look at all of these so-called genocides that she's flagging: the Bolshevik genocide of the Christians in Russia and the Soviet Union, the Germans genocided by the Allies and Russia during World War II. None of that counts as genocide in my book. But let's say it was a genocide. It wasn't your people, my love. You are not a European. You are not a white woman.
I
You are a
think
black woman
she
from.
genuinely thinks that it was something that involves her when it really doesn't.
She's taking it very
She's
personally.
taking it personal.
I don't understand it. And if she was to go back in a time machine and land there and defend her people, I won't tell you what they do to her, but it wouldn't be very welcoming. Let me just put it that way, especially in Germany.
No, I hear that. I hear that. It's just it's very interesting. I find her concern trolling about persecution of Christians to be very, very bizarre. I think it's more of a recent development because of the accusations of anti-Semitism that's been thrown at her. It's definitely to do with that because I didn't previously hear her talking about how Nigerian Christians are, being attacked in Nigeria by Boko Haram type groups. But I would like to ask her though, if Nigerian Christians wanted to seek refuge in the United States, would she be happy with the open border policy helping them out? I know I
Uh,
would.
uh,
I like the
and what
idea of people
about
being safe.
what about the Christians on the border, the Mexicans? They're Catholic too.
Well, she doesn't care about that. I don't believe she has that same sense of Christian solidarity that she thinks she has, but she does not have that. Not at all. But anyways, so Candace Owens was fired 4 months ago, and now she is back and she's doubling down on one of my favorite conspiracy theories about her thinking that Bridget Macron is a man. She
I
believes
listened to
that
that episode.
I like, do you know what? I see her as a dog with a bone when it comes to this. She is not letting go.
Hey, she got. I was coming into this
She got me
completely
fooled. She
blind.
got me fooled. I kind of
I
believe some
mean,
of it.
I kind of believe it too. I thought it was ridiculous, but I mean, you know it better than me. But
She
I was
made one
completely
good
shocked.
point. She said, at best, Bridget Macron is a pervert. And
I
she's right
mean,
with that. Bridget
and she's
Macron
not
is
lying
a
about that.
pervert.
She is a pervert. She's a nonce.
She is
She
an
she
absolute out and
preyed on a
out.
14-year-old boy as a woman in her 30s. No one should find a 14-year-old boy
Emmanuel
attractive.
Macron's family sent her a letter saying, please leave our son alone. That is not a conspiracy theory. So her, rants about Bridget Macron's gender identity, we will wait and see how that develops. Bridget Macron has got a lawsuit against the journalists that were working on it in France. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, so Candace Owens, I find her to be a complex character. I do think she has done one good thing. She's done a great job in highlighting the double standards of the double standards of on anti-Semitism. She does talk about Jewish supremacy, and she talks about it in a very sensible way. However, she is a fucking fraud because that bitch has been to Israel many times and she used to brag about it all the time. So anyone who's pro-Palestine, who's against this genocide in Gaza, remember that she's doing this because she has a personal beef with
Mm,
Andrew Klavan, the Jewish guy who works at the Daily Wire, and Ben Shapiro, the other Jewish guy at the Daily Wire. She has
yeah,
personal beef that she's now using the genocide in Gaza and Christian persecution in certain parts of the
yeah.
world.
And I think she is using her personal vendetta against two Jewish people and framing it in an anti-Zionist tone to fool her new fans.
And
I
another
think
Jewish person. There's two other, that's actually four Jewish people that she's got beef with. Actually, no, five in total. So Andrew Klavan, Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire, and then two rabbis, Rabbi Shmuley and Rabbi Barkley. Now, Rabbi Shmuley, please Google him. Rabbi Shmuley Botev. I
filth,
think he's filth.
filth.
He's an absolute degenerate. Please Google Rabbi Shmuley. He's
And
basically
his
a rabbi
daughter.
and his daughter. He runs an online sex toy business with his daughter, so they call him the unholy Shmuley.
I
And
love
yeah,
it.
just good. So Rabbi Shmuley and his daughter have had a feud with Candace Owens for years. And as a result of that, she's obviously snapped back and she's given as good as she's gotten from them. And I do respect her for that. You've got to defend yourself. But anyways, another rabbi who's friends with Rabbi Shmuley got into the mix and wrote an article about Candace Owens, calling her an anti-Semite. She took offense to that. This is when she was working at the Daily Wire. And then she basically invited Rabbi Barclay to her show at the Daily Wire and had a 1.5 hour interview with him. And I encourage everyone to watch that interview. It
It
will
was
tell
so
you
good.
so good, wasn't it? I think Rabbi Barclay was he was trying to hit a quota of how many stereotypes can I hit in the space of an hour and a half. But anyways, watch that. I'm just going to show you a funny clip from that bit. Let me see if I can get it out. But it was the bit where Candace Owens is telling Rabbi Barclay, you know, of course, I'm going to defend myself of Rabbi Shmuley and his hag daughter. She calls her a hag, which apparently is anti-Semitic because of some, theory about witches from, centuries ago, but if you're a hag, you're a hag, in my opinion. But basically, Rabbi Barclay tells her, okay, so if someone attacks you, they attack you, but you have no right to attack them back. So I'm just going to play that for you. Hopefully, you can hear it. So I'm just going to play it on loud. So this is the clip.
If you believe that Shmuley Boteach and his daughter are doing things that are attacking you on a personal level, not attacking your persona, not attacking what you do. I'm not calling you as anti-Semite, is attacking you for how you act, not attacking you as a human being. Please understand there is a difference of who we are and how we are.
She dropped out of college.
Wait, please let me finish. If Shmuley
okay, go ahead.
is attacking you, if he is attacking you on any personal way, that doesn't mean it's okay for you to attack him. You know better than that. You teach your children all that better than that.
No, I actually, like everything I'm saying about him, like if this is holy, like, you know, selling butt plugs with your daughter, I don't know. Okay, maybe you're right. I think it's gross. Right, I think it's disgusting. And I do not, it's not the definition of holy in the Christian faith is what I would say. It's weird to me.
I just need to go back to the bit where he goes, you know better than that. That is gaslighting galore. Let me just go back.
No, I actually
go
out of college.
Wait, please let me finish. If
okay, go ahead.
Is attacking you. If he is attacking you on any personal way, that doesn't mean it's okay for you to attack him. You know better than that. You teach your children all that better than that.
No, I actually, like everything I'm saying about him, like if this is holy, like, you know, selling butt plugs with your daughter, I don't know. Okay, maybe you're right. I think it's gross. Right, I think it's disgusting. And
that was hilarious. You know better than that.
It was the clasping of his hands and the head tilt. So disrespectful. He's literally talking to her like a child.
So villainous, though. He's not even hiding it. He's not. He's like, I ain't beating the accusations. It is what it is. He literally said,
he said he said turn the other cheek and then the other cheek and then spread them.
Yeah, turn the other cheek and spread them. But yeah, no. So that was, by the way, before we move on to the next topic, that was the last episode that Candace Owens ever did with the Daily Wire. She was abruptly fired after that for obvious reasons.
At least she went out with a bang.
She did. But
so what's the judgment on her? Is she fraud? Is she genuine?
So Candace Owens, friend or fraud? I think she's useful in certain areas. She did a really good interview with Brianna Joy Gray. We spoke about Brianna last week. So she actually invited Brianna Joy Gray. It was like two beautiful Black women getting together. Two beautiful Black women who've upset Jewish people, basically. Two beautiful Black women getting together and saying, girl, me too. Girl, I got fired.
I think she's a useful idiot. Oh, not an idiot, actually. I don't think she's an idiot. I think she's a useful character in a media environment that favors people who are loud, brash, argumentative, and people's attention spans.
She's very intelligent, and she's very, very, I don't know, she's got her finger on the pulse when it comes to many things. I wish that she didn't have her finger on
get attention.
Yeah, she shouldn't have her finger on Bridget Macron's pulse. She needs to stay away from that one because I think that it is it's lowering the tone of the rest of what she
and discusses. She also doesn't believe in the moon landing.
She doesn't believe in the moon landing. She doesn't believe dinosaurs either, does she?
Oh God.
But anyway, so I think Candace Owens is charming, but she's also a snake. That's my thing on her. And I do think that Muslims, especially in the past 8 months, have had a bit of a tendency to just let anyone in just because of, to be fair, some like you know, whatever you want to call it, anti-Zionism or whatnot. But I just think always be cautious. We've seen what happens with Andrew Tate. We've seen what happens with people like Sneeko. We've seen what happens. Let's just not go there. Yeah, we don't need her. And Palestinians certainly don't need her. Like there's no, she doesn't have any like there's no intrinsic benefit, but I do find her entertaining.
I think she's a good entertainer as well.
She's a good entertainer. However, there was something extremely problematic that she said. She once called Native Americans cannibals, I believe. She was at a university debate, and she was debating people on, two-spirit identity, like gender identity. And she was disagreeing with the idea of two-spirit identity, which is one form of Indigenous and First Nations gender identity. They use that as an umbrella term to describe individuals who are not straight or cisgender. So I got that from a Yahoo article. And basically what she said to that person is, so Owens continued to deny the existence of transgender individuals in Native American cultures. And then she asks, it's historical knowledge that there were trans Native Americans? And then she goes on to say, wait a minute, and then she says, yeah, she basically said, is this like a Native American tribe, like high smoking and talking about your spirit? I'm asking you seriously, because when I think of Native American tribes talking about their spirits, I know that they used to smoke a lot. They used to do drugs. They were also cannibals who used to eat people. That's what Owen said. Anyways, that's all we have time for Owens.
This has been like the most chaotic episode, and I love it.
Yeah.
I much prefer this video call format.
I love it too. I mean, love is a very strong word, but yeah. So anyways, shall I steal your goodbye? I'm gonna say ciao for now.
Ciao for now.
Bye.